grow your business. Make Indonesia your next investment destination. To find out more, contact BKPM today.
Working with millions of clients around the world, we provide clarity where there is complexity, ideas and advice that lead to opportunity, and solutions across the financial spectrum, creating value through our financial strength and expertise. Deutsche Bank, a passion to perform.
You know it was coming. It's end of November now and getting into the dead of winter. Northern China whacked by the worst snowstorms in some 60 years, and cabs in the south stopped running altogether. Their all-weather radios just aren't doing the trick. Wei is here to explain the cause and effect. And Wei, having grown up in mainland China, you know how bad those snowstorms can get. We are talking about snow drifts feet and feet and feet high.
Well, actually, I grew up in southern China, so I can't tell you about snow, but I can certainly tell you it's not a very good job to drive cabs in China, Bernie. Now, look at those pictures. They're all over Chinese website. Those are lines of cabs stretching miles in cities like Chongqing, waiting to get a little bit of the limited fuel. 2 years ago, those cabs were lining up for petrol, and now it's nat gas on short supply. Now, PetroChina says its nat gas facilities are already operating at full capacity, but the cold winter pushed up demand all of a sudden. But analysts say that the shortage of nat gas was sold through many years of government price caps.
The artificially low natural gas prices has disencouraged upstream investments in the last few years, so that now the demand is very high because the end user price is much cheaper than the alternative fuels.
Chinese consumers on average only pay about half of what U.S. consumers pay for nat gas. And Mokura says that's exactly why, even though half of PetroChina's reserve is in nat gas, it's been dragging its feet to get that stuff out of the ground. Now, the pressure is building for the government to abandon the price fix.
The consensus view is that the government is definitely going to do something about the price, but in what form and how soon that price reform is going to come out is still in the air. Now, Credit Suisse says when the reform eventually comes through, nat gas prices in China will go up to 20% next year. And Mokura says by 2016, you'll see half of PetroChina's profit coming from nat gas. Bernie?
That's a lot of hot air and a lot of hot gas there. Anyway, it burns cleaner than things like diesel and gasoline.
Exactly.
So that's the upside.
Exactly.
Right. Thanks, Wei. Okay, let's talk about another resource class here. Do you know how much aluminum there is out there? Apparently, Bloomberg did a little bit of a number crunching like they love to do here. Warehouses holding enough aluminum to build nearly 70,000 Boeing 747 jumbos are at odds with what's going on out there in the price market. The aluminum settled in on the London Metals Exchange at north of $2,000 a ton. What is going on with prices? They have been up and up, 32% so far this year. Joining us from New York is Chuck Bradford, analyst at Affiliated Research Group. Chuck, good evening to you. There's a lot of stuff out there, but nobody can seem to pin down exactly where it is. Why are aluminum prices up when there's so much of it that's not being used?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. But there's a financial trade that's going on with the inventories where people would buy the short end, where the price is lower, and sell the long end and make a nice sized profit. So that's what's keeping the inventory where it is. But it really makes no sense to have this kind of inventory, which is maybe twice the previous peak, because high inventories always mean lower prices.
So do we have too much output? Is there overcapacity? Does there need to be some rationalization? Or the Chinese are the big kahunas when it comes to aluminum production, right? Are they spitting out too much of the stuff?
Absolutely. They did cut back late last year, early this year, when the price of the metal fell close to 60 cents. We figure their costs are a little bit north of 80 cents. But recently, the price in Shanghai has been closer to $1. So the last few months, there's been a massive increase in the output of aluminum in China. And China is 4 times bigger than the U.S., which is number 2.
Do they have their policy intact? I mean, right now the government's so concerned about too much lending and banks gone amok. Are they turning a blind eye to problems in this space?
Well, aluminum is not really a natural material for production in China because it's, in effect, solid electricity. And China is not blessed with cheap electricity, nor are they blessed with very good bauxite. But they do have very low costs of construction of plants. A lot of the companies have their own coal, so their electricity might be cheaper than the alternative, the official alternative, which just went up in price about 5% a couple days ago. So the Chinese government has tried to control it, but at times, several months ago, they actually were stimulating the market by buying up a lot of inventory in China. There's quite a bit sitting around.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know where they pile it all. The U.S. dollar has been, of late, fortunately, it's been bouncing off its lows, but it's been sort of a steady, slow drip downwards for the U.S. dollar. Like all assets of this nature, whether it's precious or base metals, Chuck, this one's denominated in U.S. dollars. How much has the Forex factor played in terms of determining price discovery?
Well, there are actually, 2 key factors. We've already talked about China. The second is the dollar. A weak dollar causes most of the base metal prices to rally, and rally quite a bit. It's a great store of value for people. And you can see it very clearly in some of the other metals, even more than aluminum. Gold, copper, they've all soared dramatically. Almost all have doubled. At least copper has. Aluminum is up maybe 50%. So it's actually up somewhat less. That's obviously in dollar terms. If you're not maybe 20% off the value of the dollar, aluminum is still up, but it's not up dramatically.
Okay. Finally, Chuck, is there, because you watch these different arenas within the industrial metal, is there one where the price, where the supply demand does not equate with the price, perhaps something that's overlooked, undervalued, and not and quite at odds with really what's going on out there and the future demand horizon?
Well, I actually think that copper looks the best. Among other things, China doesn't have a lot of it, which is a plus. The metal has done quite well in a pretty weak market, but even there's a pretty massive inventory in China. That huge increases in imports this year, over 100% in unwrought copper. In fact, about 170%. The apparent consumption is up 45%. And if you believe that, I can sell you a bridge. Maybe real consumption is up 10 or 12, and the rest went into inventory. Now, aluminum isn't quite so bad, but there's still a huge capacity increase next year.
Okay, I don't have enough money for a bridge, but I might be able to take some copper off your hands. Appreciate your time, Chuck. You have a great rest of your evening and Thanksgiving. Next to Morning Call, GM is out now 0 for 3, trying to sell off brands since they got out of bankruptcy, having lots of trouble, this time in Stockholm.
Indonesia, Southeast Asia's largest country, with economic growth in 2009 of more than 4%, despite the uncertain global economy. Indonesia is pro-business and welcomes international investors. Indonesia successfully held its presidential elections in 2009 and is a stable and vibrant economy, which offers investors a well-regulated operating environment. Indonesia has an abundant and diverse array of natural resources, large market, and efficient workforce. Indonesia continues to attract a growing number of significant new international investments across a number of growth sectors, including infrastructure, mining, energy, and agribusiness.